Hey guys, it's Hey Brittany and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing an episode for my Binge Watch Brittany series, and in today's episode we are going to be covering Ransom Canyon. Let's get into it. Alrighty guys, so let's talk about Ransom. I can never say that right. Ransom Canyon. So first off, I just want to say that I really love Small Town USA. I for some reason was getting a lot of The Vampire Diaries, Virgin River, and then also Friday Night Lights vibes from this TV show all in one. Obviously, the Friday Night Lights part comes from Minka Kelly's role in this TV show. She was one of the main actors or characters in the first season of Friday Night Lights. And so I know that Friday Night Lights is a very serious, kind of dreary type of TV show, and it feels like there's a black cloud hanging over everyone who lives in that town. Obviously, football is the big thing that they are looking forward to, and it's a big thing if you're on the football team. And so I was expecting her to bring that type of vibe and energy into this TV show, and mainly because that's all I've seen from her. I know that she more recently did Euphoria, and again, she was the rich lady who's clothes, I think, is it Manny, something like that from Euphoria, was wearing her clothes basically, and she just had that really kind of like dark, gloomy energy. So I expected her to bring that same type of energy and kind of intensity to this TV show, Ransom Canyon. There we go, I got it. Perfect. And so the Virgin River part comes from kind of like the lightness and the airiness. Yes, they do cover serious topics, but it is also very lighthearted. And so I don't know if I like that vibe. I think it's too lighthearted for what they were trying to get across. That's just my opinion. And then also the vampires part of it. So there were moments where I felt like I was on the Vampire Diaries set. I did have to look up the filming location just to see where exactly it was filmed. And it was not filmed in Georgia where the Vampire Diaries was filmed. But the hallway of the school looks familiar to me. And then also Gracie's just kept giving me Mystic Grill vibes, even though it was a completely different setup. This was a dance hall, and the Mystic Grill is a restaurant, a bar and grill. So there's just a lot of small town USA vibes that I really like about this TV show. The other thing that I want to call out while we're just going through the intro of this video, I'm not sure how I feel about the soundtrack. So there were some songs that I really liked. At the end, I did like Fancy Like by Walker Hayes. That was a really good bop. But everything else, I felt like it was either a little bit off or probably not quite what I would have played at those moments. Obviously, my music palette is not as expanded or expansive as I would like it to be, but I think that and I think that limits me and what songs I would play. But I just feel like the soundtrack just kind of, it made the show more lighthearted than I think it should have been for what the plot was. Alrighty, with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the episode. So one of my biggest pet peeves in the first episode of Ransom Canyon was, and I'm forever gonna have trouble saying that, a lot of syllables that I can't say altogether, but Ransom Canyon, there we go. So I did not like the way the first episode was done. It felt like they were just filming scenes and then just throwing them together to kind of give us the backstory and kind of move the plot along, but it wasn't done in a coordinated, cohesive way to where I could understand. Like, obviously I'm smart, I can figure out why they were showing us certain things, but it just didn't flow together to make it seem more natural. I had to do the mental work to kind of put it together what was happening. So I know that we are going into season 1, the first episode. We understand pretty quickly that Staten has lost his wife. He is at his son's birthday party. There's a girl that he has the hots for. We're not really sure what their relationship is. And then his son is given a car by his Uncle Davis. So Randall is given a car by his Uncle Davis, which is Staten's wife's brother, if we got that correctly. So that was my biggest pet peeve, that everything did not flow together, and then we were just kind of trying to figure out where we were picking off from. It seems like we were really thrown into the story, and I think that's maybe why I felt like it was not very cohesive and kind of had a flow to it, because if we knew the story before where they showed us the first episode, we kind of would have understood what happened already. So they had to go back in time and kind of fill us in on what was happening via flashbacks and all of that other stuff. What I thought was interesting was that we know that Staten, Amala, and Quinn, they all basically grew up together, and we know that Quinn has feelings for Staten, and then we're not really sure how Staten feels about her. We know that he may have feelings for her, but it seems like he's not either not ready to act on them or he's not going to, just because of the closeness between all three of them. And I know that some people may find it weird if their husband starts dating their best friend after they pass away, just because they either know that there is feelings there, or they just feel like their best friend is going to take care of their spouse, and so that's why they want that to happen. So there's a little bit of weirdness in there, but they kind of played off, in my opinion, and kind of made it not a huge issue, just because it seemed like everybody wanted that to happen. Now, as far as Staten, one of the things that we learned pretty quickly is that he has a hard time getting over his son Randall's death, and he thinks that there's more to the story than what happened. And so we know that he's been bugging the cops, trying to get them to investigate, and this Sheriff Dan, is the person that he's been going to kind of get traction and movement on the case. And he ends up going to the site where his son had his accident, and he's able to find like a metal piece of the fender from this really old truck, and he's able to figure out that there was another truck there when his son had his accident. So this is a huge turning point or a major reveal in the storyline, because this is what they're going to fixate going throughout each episode, and as we reach the final episode to hopefully wrap everything up. So we know that something huge is going to come out about Randall's death. So now just getting into actors a little bit. In terms of casting, I thought that Quinn was perfect. I thought that Staten was perfect, and I didn't mind Lauren. Dan was familiar to me, but I didn't look him up. But the only casting that I had a problem with was Reed. I did not feel like Reed fit the stereotypical look for a star quarterback, and especially, not that he didn't look rich, but he did not fit the look that I would envision for a arrogant, rich, and popular star quarterback at a high school in Texas where football is pretty huge. And so I think that was the only thing that did not quite pull it off for me, because I just felt like he wasn't aggressive, or he wasn't assertive enough to have that role. Like, yes, he's supposed to be a guy who messes up and has to live up to these expectations that his dad Davis has of him, but I just felt like the actor didn't really bring the character to life for me the way that I envisioned someone playing the role of Reed. Okay, so while we have all of this going on, we have a huge kind of like feud between the Kirkland and the Collins. Kirkland is Staten Kirkland, obviously, and then Davis is Davis Collins. And their family, both families have ranches. They are both rich families, and they are basically just fighting over the direction of their land. Obviously, they own their land, but they're getting offers from Austin Water and Power Company to either sell all of their land or part of their land so that they can run a pipeline through. And Staten does not want this, and Davis is all for this, and we find out that he is all for this because he is in severe debt. He is about to lose his home, and so he needs a lifeline, and that lifeline is the pipeline. So while we have all of that going on, there is a few side stories. So we have Cap, Ellie, and Nancy. So Nancy comes into town. We actually see Dan bringing him to Cap's ranch. And the story is that he is just looking for work. He found work at Cap's farm, and he wants to work for him. However, we know that he has been in prison, and then we obviously find out that he has come up with this plan to kind of get back at Cap for abandoning him and his mother when the father, Lincoln, went off to war super young, got a girl pregnant, and then Cap basically turned that girl and her baby away. And so Cap is older. He has nobody to leave his ranch to. He is more likely to give in to Austin Water and Power Company because he does not have an heir. Whereas Kirkland does not have an heir either, but he's young, he's much younger, and he can take care of his land in a way that Cap cannot because he's older. So Staten had a lot of pride in being able to keep his ranch, keep it going, and then be able to keep it in his family, even if he doesn't have a son anymore to pass it on to. So anyway, so we have Yancey coming into the picture. He meets Ellie, who is like a daughter to Cap. She's a nurse. She also works with Quinn at Gracie's dance hall. And we see them quickly kind of getting into a relationship. And she's really pushing him to be better. She is suspicious of him, but she's also giving him the benefit of the doubt. And she has this ex-boyfriend, Kai, who is pushing her to kind of open her eyes and see Yancey for the con man that we know that he is. And so things get tricky when he has two people that he was in prison with kind of coming after him. They somehow find him. I'm not even sure how they found him, but they know that it probably has some scheme going. And so they're basically blackmailing him because they want in on it. And so the whole way that they are able to blackmail him is that they're going to out him for what he's doing to Cap, to anyone who will listen. And this will make Yancey look really bad. And so obviously, Yancey wants to keep them quiet until we even see him going and being a part of this rodeo contest. He's actually really good at doing the rodeo thing, and he wins the $20,000, and he was supposed to give that to those two guys who came along, but at the last minute they switched the deal and were going to bet against him because they knew that he would win, and he actually did win. He was supposed to throw it. He did not throw it. He won and got the money. But somehow Kai got involved and kind of knew to get his cop people. Kai is a cop. He knew somehow to arrest Yancey's friend while they were at the rodeo. So that kind of gets them off the hook. It gets Yancey off the hook. And then what happens is that guy is mouthing off to Ellie, and he's telling her, hey, you don't even know Yancey, he's a con man, you fell for him, you don't even know his real name and all of that stuff. And so that kind of gets Ellie thinking about things a little bit more when it comes to Yancey. And then we also have Quinn and Davis dating. So they've been playing kind of like this cat and mouse game. Davis is Amala's brother, and Amala and Quinn were friends. And so we see Quinn finally giving in to Davis's pursuit of her because she can't get through to Staten. Like, she's there to help him with his grief, but he doesn't seem to want to move on. And so by dating Davis, and she's genuinely interested in dating him, this actually gets Staten really upset about it, and he ends up going to Quinn and saying, hey, be with me, don't be with him, blah blah blah, I've always seen you, and blah blah blah. And so they end up getting together. They're hooking up behind Davis's back, but we as the viewers should not mind that because Davis has been completely awful throughout this first season. He has been obviously scheming behind everybody's backs and trying to get the land from under different families so that he can profit from it because he is in debt. And then also he keeps poking at Staten and trying to get him to basically get a rise out of him so that he can make him look bad in front of Gracie. He can make him look bad in front of Quinn, and this is super annoying to me because Quinn should know that Davis is doing it, and she's basically expecting Staten to not rise to the bait or whatever. But it's very difficult when you have someone like that who's constantly picking at you and you know why they're doing it, and then you're still expecting them to like turn the other cheek and just kind of ignore it. So that was my only issue with Quinn, is that she just had these unrealistic expectations, and it just seemed like she didn't see Davis for who he truly was. Now, the other thing that we have happening is that we have Lauren and Lucas getting together. So Lauren was dating Reed, who is Randall's cousin. So Staten is his uncle, kind of his uncle by marriage, whatever. And so they break up. Lauren and Reed break up. She's been hooking up with Lucas since the summer, so since before the first season started, and she breaks up with Reed. She gets together with Lucas. Her dad Dan doesn't like Lucas, and he does not like Lucas's brother Kit. We don't know why, but we later on figure out that he does not like Kit because Kit was having an affair with his wife Margaret. This is gonna be important in a few minutes. So anyway, Lauren and Lucas have a rough go of it because their families do not want them to be together. Kit does not want Lucas with Lauren because he feels like, hey, it's just a fling, you're gonna leave in a month, and oh, that's why he said that. Okay, so he's like, it's a fling, it's gonna end in a month, and the longer it goes on, I'm gonna have to put the pieces back together. And he's speaking of his relationship with Margaret, which I'm just now getting. So anyway, so that's why he's against it. And then Dan, obviously, we know by the end of the season that he does not like Kit and that family, the Russell family, because of what Kit and Margaret are doing. So he does not want Lucas to hurt his daughter Lauren. And so what happens is Lucas and Reed end up having to work together because Lucas gets a job at Stanton's ranch and he's a farmhand and he's helping out. Reed lied about being the hero and rescuing or helping to save somebody, and they all know that it's not true. So it was Lauren, Reed, Tim, Lucas, and Stanton. They were all there this one night. They went to the ghost house. Tim fell through the floor because they were jumping on it. It was like an old house in disrepair. They should not have been doing that. And so Tim fell from like the first floor to the basement, broke his leg, whatever. And I believe Reed ran out. Lucas went out, but then he came back to get Lauren out, and then Lucas went back